Let's get started. Today I'm going to make building challenge of real-life gas statue with my friends Bro, Hacker, and God. And while I will build it, I would like to tell you one delightful story about Steve and Alex's epic adventure into the underground hell world. This world is full of dangers, castles, war pigs, golden chests, and ghasts. Also, don't forget to press like button on this video and subscribe to my channel. Let's build. In the heart of a bustling metropolis, three friends, Dan, Sam, and Steve, were gearing up for another day at the fire rescue department. They were known far and wide for their bravery and quick thinking, always ready to protect the city's important buildings from any danger that came their way. As the sun rose over the skyline, the friends received a call. The mayor's office was on fire. Without hesitation, they rushed to the scene in their trusty fire truck, the Red Phoenix, sirens blaring. Dan, the leader of the group, shouted over the sound of the sirens, "Let's do this, team. We need to get those flames under control." Sam, the fearless firefighter, added, "Don't worry, Dan, we've got this. Let's show those flames who's boss." Steve, the quick-witted engineer, chimed in, "Hang on, guys, I've got a plan that might just work. We'll use the aerial ladder to reach the higher floors and attack the fire from above." Together, they sprang into action, working tirelessly to extinguish the flames and save the mayor's office. With teamwork and determination, they managed to contain the fire and prevent it from spreading further. As they stood amidst the smoldering ruins, Dan looked at his friends with pride. "Great job, everyone. We couldn't have done it without each other." Sam grinned. "That was intense, but we nailed it, as always." Steve laughed. "Yeah, we make a pretty awesome team, don't we?" Just then, another call came in. The city museum was under threat from a raging inferno. Without hesitation, Dan, Sam, and Steve raced back to the Red Phoenix, ready to face their next challenge. And so, the adventures of Dan, Sam, and Steve, the brave fire rescuers, continued, each day bringing new challenges and new victories. They were a team like no other, always ready to protect their city and each other, no matter what dangers came their way. As the Red Phoenix sped through the city streets, Dan, Sam, and Steve prepared themselves for the next challenge. Smoke billowed from the museum's windows, and the sound of crackling flames filled the air. Dan called out over the roar of the fire, "All right, team, let's save those priceless artifacts." Sam nodded, determination in her eyes. "Let's make sure this museum doesn't become history." Steve added, "I've got an idea. We can use the thermal imaging camera to locate the hottest spots and target our efforts there." With their plan in place, they entered the museum, battling the flames with all their might. They worked together seamlessly, their years of experience and trust in each other guiding their every move. After what felt like hours, the last flames were extinguished, and the museum was safe once again. The trio emerged from the building, covered in soot but smiling proudly. Dan clapped Steve on the back. "Great thinking with the thermal imaging camera, Steve. You saved us a lot of time." Sam wiped her brow. "I don't know about you guys, but I could use a break. Fighting fires is hard work." Steve grinned. "Agreed. Let's head back to the station and grab some well-deserved rest." And so, Dan, Sam, and Steve returned to the fire station, heroes once again. Their adventures were far from over, but they knew that as long as they had each other, they could face any challenge that came their way. As they relaxed at the fire station, Dan, Sam, and Steve reminisced about their past adventures. They laughed at the funny moments, cheered for their victories, and reflected on the challenges they had overcome together. Dan raised his glass. "To us, the best fire rescue team in the city. Here's to many more years of saving lives and fighting fires." Sam grinned. "Cheers to that. I don't know what I'd do without you guys." Steve chuckled. "Yeah, who knew fighting fires could be so much fun? I wouldn't trade this job for anything." Just then, the alarm sounded once again. Another call for help had come in. Without hesitation, Dan, Sam, and Steve jumped into action, ready to face whatever danger awaited them. As they raced through the city streets in the Red Phoenix, Dan shouted over the sirens, "Another day, another fire to put out. Let's do this, team." Sam nodded, determination in her eyes. "We've got this, Dan. We're unstoppable when we work together." Steve grinned. "Time to show those flames who's boss." And so, the adventures of Dan, Sam, and Steve, the fearless fire rescuers, continued. They were a team like no other, always ready to face whatever challenges came their way with bravery, skill, and a whole lot of heart. As they arrived at the scene, Dan, Sam, and Steve were greeted by a massive blaze engulfing a high-rise building. The heat was intense, and the flames danced dangerously close to nearby structures. Dan surveyed the scene and quickly formulated a plan. We need to evacuate the building and contain the fire before it spreads further. Sam, you take the east side. Steve, the west. I'll coordinate from here. Sam and Steve nodded, and they sprang into action, helping people evacuate while battling the flames. The situation was dire, but they worked tirelessly, their determination unwavering. After what seemed like an eternity, the fire was finally under control, and everyone was safe. Dan, Sam, and Steve emerged from the building, exhausted but triumphant. Dan looked at his friends with pride. "We did it, team. We saved lives today." Sam grinned. "I couldn't have asked for better teammates. You guys are the best." Steve nodded. "Agreed. We make one heck of a team." As they returned to the fire station, the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Dan, Sam, and Steve knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would always have each other. And so, the adventures of Dan, Sam, and Steve, the fearless fire rescuers, continued, their bond stronger than ever. One evening, as Dan, Sam, and Steve were enjoying a quiet dinner at the fire station, they received a call about a fire at a warehouse on the outskirts of town. The caller mentioned seeing strange lights and hearing eerie noises coming from inside the building. Intrigued, the trio hopped into the Red Phoenix and raced to the scene. As they approached, they could see smoke billowing from the warehouse's windows. But there was something else, a faint glow that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly light. Dan, ever the leader, ordered, "Sam, Steve, let's approach with caution. We don't know what we're dealing with here." Sam nodded, her hand on the nozzle of the fire hose. "Got it, Dan. We'll stay alert."
I'm happy to see you again, my friends. It is me, Pro from Minecraft. My friend Noob made very cool real-life gas statue, but I will try to build it even more interesting. And while I do this, I will continue to tell you an exciting story about Steve and Alex. Also press like button on this video and subscribe to the channel. Let's start building. Steve, always ready with a plan, suggested, maybe we should split up. I'll check out the east side of the building. Sam, you take the west, and Dan, you stay here and coordinate. As they searched the warehouse, they encountered strange symbols painted on the walls, and the air was thick with an eerie silence. Suddenly, they heard a muffled cry for help coming from the back of the warehouse. Rushing to the source of the sound, they found a group of trapped workers, surrounded by flames. With quick thinking and teamwork, Dan, Sam, and Steve managed to rescue them. But the mystery of the warehouse fire remained unsolved. As they returned to the fire station, Dan couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the warehouse fire than met the eye. Little did they know, their next adventure was just around the corner. A few days later, another call came in. This time, it was about a fire at an abandoned mansion on the outskirts of town. Rumors swirled about the mansion being haunted, but Dan, Sam, and Steve were undeterred. Arriving at the mansion, they were greeted by a towering inferno that seemed to dance with a ghostly glow. Determined to save anyone who might be inside, they bravely entered the mansion, navigating through the maze-like corridors as the fire raged around them. Suddenly, they heard a voice calling out for help. Following the sound, they found a young girl trapped in a room on the second floor. Without hesitation, they sprang into action, rescuing her just in time. As they emerged from the mansion, the fire finally extinguished. They were greeted by the grateful smiles of the rescued girl and the townspeople who had gathered to watch. Another job well done for Dan, Sam, and Steve, the fearless fire rescuers. The city was plagued by a series of mysterious fires, and Dan, Sam, and Steve were determined to get to the bottom of it. They spent countless hours investigating, interviewing witnesses, and studying the patterns of the fires. One night, as they were patrolling the city, they spotted a figure lurking near a building that was about to go up in flames. they gave chase. And after a thrilling pursuit through the city streets, they finally caught the arsonist. To their surprise, the arsonist turned out to be a disgruntled former firefighter who had been fired for misconduct. He had been setting the fires as an act of revenge against the department. With the arsonist behind bars, the city was safe once again. Dan, Sam, and Steve were hailed as heroes, but they knew that their work was never done. They would continue to protect the city and its people, one fire at a time. As they returned to the fire station, Dan looked at his friends with pride. "We make a great team, don't we?" Sam grinned. "Absolutely. I wouldn't want to fight fires with anyone else." Steve nodded. "Same here. We're unstoppable when we work together." And so, the adventures of Dan, Sam, and Steve, the fearless fire rescuers, continued, their bond stronger than ever. One day, a friendly competition was announced among the fire departments in the city. It was called the Firehouse Challenge, where teams would compete in various firefighting tasks to see who was the best of the best. Dan, Sam, and Steve were eager to participate, and they trained tirelessly in preparation for the challenge. The day of the competition arrived, and teams from all over the city gathered at the central square. The challenges were tough, but Dan, Sam, and Steve tackled them with skill and determination. They excelled in tasks like hose handling, ladder climbing, and search and rescue, earning them the top spot in the competition. As they stood on the winner's podium, the crowd cheered, and the mayor presented them with a trophy. Dan, Sam, and Steve were proud of their accomplishment, but they knew that their real reward was knowing that they had made their city a safer place. Back at the fire station, they celebrated their victory with a barbecue and some friendly banter. They knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would always be there for each other, ready to face them head-on. And so, the adventures of Dan, Sam, and Steve, the fearless fire rescuers, continued, their bond stronger than ever. One night, a massive storm hit the city, bringing with it strong winds and torrential rain. The fire department was inundated with calls for help as trees fell, power lines sparked, and buildings flooded. Dan, Sam, and Steve worked tirelessly, rescuing people from flooded homes, clearing debris from the streets, and ensuring that everyone was safe. It was their most challenging night yet, but they refused to give up. As the storm raged on, the trio faced their biggest challenge yet, a gas leak in a residential neighborhood, with the risk of an explosion looming. They worked quickly and efficiently to evacuate the area and shut off the gas supply. After hours of hard work, the storm finally passed, leaving behind a trail of destruction. But thanks to Dan, Sam, and Steve's bravery and dedication, the city was safe once again. As they sat together, exhausted but proud, Dan looked at his friends and said, "We've been through a lot together, but I wouldn't trade this job for anything. You guys are the best team I could ask for." Sam and Steve nodded in agreement, knowing that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would always have each other. And so, the adventures of Dan, Sam, and Steve, the fearless fire rescuers, continued, their bond stronger than ever. One day, while responding to a routine call, Dan, Sam, and Steve stumbled upon a hidden underground tunnel beneath an old warehouse. Intrigued, they decided to explore, not knowing that their lives were about to change forever. As they ventured deeper into the tunnel, they discovered a hidden world filled with ancient artifacts and mysterious symbols. But before they could investigate further, they were ambushed by a group of masked figures. A fierce battle ensued, with Dan, Sam, and Steve fighting bravely against their attackers. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, they were saved by a mysterious figure who emerged from the shadows. The figure revealed himself to be a guardian of the tunnel, tasked with protecting its secrets from those who would misuse them. He explained that the tunnel was a gateway to another dimension, filled with wonders beyond imagination. Fascinated by the Guardian's words, Dan, Sam, and Steve decided to embark on a journey through the tunnel, eager to explore this new world and uncover its mysteries. As they stepped through the gateway, they were filled with excitement and anticipation, knowing that their greatest adventure was about to begin. And so, the adventures of Dan, Sam, and Steve, the fearless fire rescuers, continued in a world beyond their wildest dreams. One day, while responding to a routine call, Dan, Sam, and Steve stumbled upon a hidden underground tunnel beneath an old warehouse. Intrigued, they decided to explore, not knowing that their lives were about to change forever. As they ventured deeper into the tunnel, they discovered a hidden world filled with ancient artifacts and mysterious symbols. But before they could investigate further, they were ambushed by a group of masked figures. Masked figure, intruders, how dare you enter our sacred tunnel? Dan, we didn't mean any harm. We were just curious. Sam, yeah, we're firefighters. We're here to help. Steve, Please, let us go. We won't tell anyone about this place. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, they were saved by a mysterious figure who emerged from the shadows. Mysterious figure. Enough. These are not your enemies. They are brave souls seeking knowledge. The figure revealed himself to be a guardian of the tunnel, tasked with protecting its secrets from those who would misuse them. He explained that the tunnel was a gateway to another dimension, filled with wonders beyond imagination. Dan, another dimension. That's incredible. Sam, I can't believe this is happening. Steve, this is like something out of a video game. Fascinated by the Guardian's words, Dan, Sam, and Steve decided to embark on a journey through the tunnel, eager to explore this new world and uncover its mysteries. As they stepped through the gateway, they were filled with excitement and anticipation, knowing that their greatest adventure was about to begin. And so, the adventures of Dan, Sam, and Steve, the fearless fire rescuers, continued in a world beyond their wildest dreams. As Dan, Sam, and Steve stepped through the gateway, they found themselves in a realm unlike anything they had ever seen. The air was filled with magic, and the landscape was dotted with fantastical creatures and vibrant plants. They were greeted by a group of friendly creatures who welcomed them to their realm. The creatures explained that they were in the Enchanted Realm, a place where dreams and reality intertwined. Dan, this place is amazing. It's like something out of a fairy tale. Sam, I've never seen anything like it. It's so beautiful. Steve, I can't wait to explore every inch of this place. The creatures led them to their village, where they were treated to a feast in their honor. As they ate, they learned more about the Enchanted Realm and its inhabitants. The creatures explained that the realm was in danger from an evil sorcerer who sought to conquer it and bend it to his will. They begged Dan, Sam, and Steve for their help in defeating the sorcerer and saving their home. Dan, Sam, and Steve didn't hesitate. They knew that they had to help these creatures and protect this magical realm. They vowed to stand with them and fight against the sorcerer. And so, Dan, Sam, and Steve, along with their new friends, embarked on a quest to defeat the sorcerer and save the Enchanted Realm. Little did they know, this would be their most challenging adventure yet. Dan, Sam, and Steve, accompanied by their new friends from the Enchanted Realm, set out on their quest to defeat the evil sorcerer. They traveled through mystical forests, crossed treacherous rivers, and climbed towering mountains, facing numerous challenges along the way.
Hello friends, it's me, Hacker from Minecraft. My friend Pro have made some very interesting real-life gas statue build, but we should show them how professional hackers build it. And while I'm building, I'll continue to tell you the breathtaking story. Don't forget to press like button on this video and subscribe to the channel. Let's go! As they approached the Sorcerer's Fortress, they were met with a dark and foreboding presence. The Sorcerer's minions attacked them, but Dan, Sam, and Steve fought back with courage and determination. Dan, we can't let them stop us. We have to keep going. Sam, stay strong, everyone. We can do this together. Steve, I've got a plan. Follow me. With Steve's quick thinking and the group's teamwork, they managed to defeat the minions and reach the Sorcerer's Fortress. Inside, they faced the Sorcerer himself, a dark and powerful figure cloaked in shadows. Sorcerer, you dare to challenge me. You are nothing compared to my power. Dan, we may be small, but we fight with heart. We won't let you destroy this realm. Sam, your reign of darkness ends here and now. Steve, get ready, everyone. This is our moment. A fierce battle ensued, with spells flying and swords clashing. The sorcerer was strong, but Dan, Sam, and Steve fought with all their might, fueled by their determination to protect the Enchanted Realm. In the end, it was Steve who delivered the final blow, using his engineering skills to outsmart the sorcerer and banish him from the realm. The Enchanted Realm was saved, thanks to the bravery and heroism of Dan, Sam, and Steve. As they bid farewell to their new friends and prepared to return home, Dan, Sam, and Steve knew that their adventures were far from over. They had proven themselves to be true heroes, and they were ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. And so, the adventures of Dan, Sam, and Steve, the fearless fire rescuers turned heroes of the Enchanted Realm, continued, their bond stronger than ever. After their victory over the evil sorcerer Dan, Sam, and Steve returned to the Enchanted Realm as heroes. The creatures of the realm celebrated their bravery and thanked them for saving their home. But as the days passed, a new mystery emerged. Reports began to surface of a ghastly ghoul haunting the outskirts of the realm, terrorizing the inhabitants and causing chaos wherever it went. Determined to solve the mystery and protect their new friends Dan, Sam, and Steve set out to find the ghoul. They searched high and low, following clues and gathering information from the locals. One night, while patrolling the outskirts of the realm, they encountered the ghoul. It was a terrifying sight, with glowing red eyes and a ghostly aura surrounding it. Dan, who are you? What do you want? Ghoul, I am the ghastly ghoul, and I seek revenge for my banishment from this realm long ago. You cannot stop me. Sam, we'll see about that. We won't let you harm anyone here. Steve, we'll find a way to stop you, even if it means facing our greatest fears. With their courage and determination, Dan, Sam, and Steve managed to outsmart the ghoul and banish it from the realm once and for all. The creatures of the realm rejoiced, grateful to be free from the ghoul's terror. As they celebrated their victory, Dan, Sam, and Steve knew that their adventures in the Enchanted Realm were far from over. They had proven themselves to be true heroes, and they were ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. And so, the adventures of Dan, Sam, and Steve, the fearless fire rescuers turned heroes of the Enchanted Realm, continued, their bond stronger than ever. As Dan, Sam, and Steve continued their adventures in the Enchanted Realm, they encountered a group of elemental beings who sought their help. The elemental beings were the guardians of the realm's natural elements, earth, water, fire, and air, and they were under attack by a dark force that threatened to disrupt the balance of the realm. Dan, Sam, and Steve agreed to help the elemental beings, knowing that they could not stand by while the realm was in danger. Together, they set out to confront the dark force and restore peace to the realm. Along the way, they encountered a variety of creatures and challenges, including a mischievous group of sprites who tried to lead them astray and a treacherous mountain pass guarded by a fierce dragon. Despite these obstacles, Dan, Sam, and Steve persevered, using their skills and teamwork to overcome each challenge. Along the way, they gained the trust and friendship of the elemental beings, who pledged to aid them in their quest. Finally, they reached the source of the dark force, a malevolent sorcerer who sought to harness the power of the elements for his own sinister purposes. In a climactic battle, Dan, Sam, and Steve joined forces with the elemental beings, using their combined powers to defeat the sorcerer and banish him from the realm. With the realm safe once again, the elemental beings thanked Dan, Sam, and Steve for their bravery and friendship. As they bid farewell to their new allies and prepared to return home, they knew that their adventures were far from over. And so, the adventures of Dan, Sam, and Steve, the fearless fire rescuers turned heroes of the Enchanted Realm, continued, their bond with the elemental beings stronger than ever. After their victory over the sorcerer and the elemental beings, Dan, Sam, and Steve returned to their duties as fire rescuers in the Enchanted Realm. However, a shadow of doubt lingered in their minds. They had heard rumors of a powerful artifact that could grant immense power to its wielder, and they worried that it might fall into the wrong hands. Determined to prevent this, they set out on a quest to find the artifact and keep it safe. Their journey took them to the farthest reaches of the realm, where they encountered ancient ruins and treacherous landscapes. Along the way, they faced new challenges and made new allies, including a group of skilled archers and a wise old sage. As they neared their goal, they discovered that the artifact was guarded by a powerful guardian, a being of pure energy and light. The guardian challenged them to prove themselves worthy of wielding the artifact, testing their courage, wisdom, and strength. Dan, Sam, and Steve faced the Guardian's trials with determination, drawing on their experiences and skills to overcome each challenge. In the end, they proved themselves worthy, and the Guardian bestowed the artifact upon them. With the artifact in their possession, Dan, Sam, and Steve returned to the fire station. Knowing that they had prevented a great evil from befalling the realm, they vowed to use the artifact wisely, ensuring that it would never fall into the wrong hands. And so, the adventures of Dan, Sam, and Steve, the fearless fire rescuers turned heroes of the Enchanted Realm, continued, their resolve stronger than ever. As Dan, Sam, and Steve continued their adventures in the Enchanted Realm, a new threat emerged. Strange disappearances were reported across the realm, with villagers vanishing without a trace. Concerned for the safety of the realm's inhabitants, Dan, Sam, and Steve set out to investigate. They searched far and wide, following clues and piecing together the mystery. Their search led them to a hidden underground cavern, where they discovered a network of tunnels inhabited by a group of shadowy creatures. These creatures, known as the Shadowkin, were responsible for the disappearances, using their dark magic to capture unsuspecting victims. Determined to put an end to the Shadowkin's reign of terror, Dan, Sam, and Steve devised a plan. They would lure the Shadowkin out of hiding and confront them head-on. With their trap set, they waited for the Shadowkin to appear. When the creatures emerged from the tunnels, Dan, Sam, and Steve sprang into action, engaging them in a fierce battle. The fight was intense, with the Shadowkin using their dark magic to try and overwhelm their attackers, but Dan, Sam, and Steve fought bravely, using their skills and teamwork to defeat the creatures. In the end, the Shadowkin were vanquished, and the villagers were rescued. Dan, Sam, and Steve were hailed as heroes once again, their bravery and determination saving the realm from a dark fate. As they returned to the fire station, Dan looked at his friends with pride. "We faced many challenges together, but we always come out on top. I wouldn't trade this for anything." Sam and Steve nodded, knowing that as long as they had each other, they could overcome any obstacle that came their way. And so, the adventures of Dan, Sam, and Steve, the fearless fire rescuers turned heroes of the Enchanted Realm, continued, their bond stronger than ever. As Dan, Sam, and Steve continued their adventures in the Enchanted Realm, they received word of a mystical guardian who had protected the realm for centuries. Known as the Timeless Guardian, this being possessed the power to manipulate time itself. Intrigued by the Guardian's abilities, Dan, Sam, and Steve set out to find him. They traveled to the heart of the realm, where the Timeless Guardian resided in a hidden temple. Upon reaching the temple, they were greeted by the Guardian, a wise and ancient being who had seen countless ages pass. The Guardian explained that he had sensed a disturbance in the fabric of time, and he needed their help to set things right. Dan, Sam, and Steve were eager to assist, and the Guardian entrusted them with a magical artifact that could control time. With this artifact in hand, they set out to repair the rifts in time that threatened to unravel the fabric of reality. Their journey took them to different eras and realms, where they encountered various challenges and dangers. They faced ancient beasts, treacherous traps, and powerful sorcerers, using their wits and skills to overcome each obstacle. In the end, they succeeded in restoring balance to the timeline, thanks to their bravery and teamwork. The Timeless Guardian thanked them for their help and bid them farewell, knowing that the realm was safe once again. As Dan, Sam, and Steve returned to the fire station, they reflected on their journey and the lessons they had learned. They knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would always be ready to face them together, united in their friendship and determination. And so, the adventures of Dan, Sam, and Steve, the fearless fire rescuers turned heroes of the Enchanted Realm, continued, their bond stronger than ever. One day, while exploring a hidden cave in the Enchanted Realm, Dan, Sam, and Steve stumbled upon a mysterious mirror. This was no ordinary mirror. It was the Mirror of Reflection, a magical artifact that showed the viewer their true self. Intrigued by the mirror's power, Dan, Sam, and Steve each took turns looking into it. What they saw shocked them. The mirror showed them their deepest fears and insecurities, forcing them to confront their inner demons. Dan saw himself failing to save a victim from a burning building. Sam saw herself unable to overcome a powerful enemy. And Steve saw himself letting down his friends in a time of need. But the mirror also showed them their strengths and virtues, reminding them of the courage, compassion, and loyalty that defined them as heroes. With newfound determination, they vowed to face their fears and be the best versions of themselves. As they left the cave, the mirror's lessons stayed with them, guiding them in their future adventures. They knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would always have the strength to overcome them. And so, the adventures of Dan, Sam, and Steve, the fearless fire rescuers turned heroes of the Enchanted Realm, continued, their spirits lifted by the Mirror of Reflection's wisdom. While exploring a dense forest in the Enchanted Realm, Dan, Sam, and Steve stumbled upon a mysterious labyrinth. Intrigued by the challenge it presented, they decided to enter, unaware of the illusions and tricks that awaited them inside. As they ventured deeper into the labyrinth, they encountered illusions of their greatest fears and desires. Dan saw visions of failing to rescue a trapped child. Sam saw herself being praised as a hero by the villagers. And Steve saw images of his past mistakes haunting him. Despite the illusion's attempts to confuse and distract them, Dan, Sam, and Steve remained focused and relied on each other for support. They used their wits and teamwork to navigate the labyrinth, avoiding traps and false paths. At the heart of the labyrinth, they discovered a magical gem that was causing illusions. With quick thinking, they deactivated the gem, dispelling the illusions and revealing the true path out of the labyrinth. As they emerged from the labyrinth, Dan, Sam, and Steve felt a sense of accomplishment. They had faced their fears and overcome the challenges of the labyrinth, emerging stronger and more united than ever before. And so, the adventures of Dan, Sam, and Steve, the fearless fire rescuers turned heroes of the Enchanted Realm, continued. Their bond forged by the trials of the labyrinth. One day, while exploring the outskirts of the Enchanted Realm, Dan, Sam, and Steve stumbled upon a hidden glade. In the center of the glade stood a magnificent fountain, surrounded by lush greenery and sparkling with magical energy. Intrigued by the fountain's beauty, they approached cautiously. As they drew nearer, they felt a strange sensation washing over them, a feeling of rejuvenation and vitality. Curious, Dan dipped his hand into the fountain and splashed some water on his face. Instantly, he felt a surge of energy coursing through his body, rejuvenating him and banishing all signs of fatigue. Sam and Steve followed suit, each experiencing the same rejuvenating effects. They realized that they had stumbled upon the legendary Fountain of Youth, a fountain said to grant eternal youth to those who drink from it. Excited by the discovery, Dan, Sam, and Steve filled their canteens with the fountain's water, knowing that its magical properties could be of great use in their future adventures. As they left the glade, they felt invigorated and ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. They knew that the Fountain of Youth would always be there, a source of strength and renewal in their journeys. And so, the adventures of Dan, Sam, and Steve, the fearless fire rescuers turned heroes of the Enchanted Realm, continued, their spirits lifted by the rejuvenating powers of the Fountain of Youth. As Dan, Sam, and Steve continued their adventures in the Enchanted Realm, they encountered a diverse group of creatures and beings who became their allies. These new friends joined them on their quest to protect the realm and explore its mysteries. Among their new allies were Eldrin the Elf, a skilled archer who could hit any target with unerring accuracy. Eldrin's knowledge of the forest and his keen senses proved invaluable in their adventures. Luna the Moonlight Fairy, a playful and mischievous fairy who could manipulate moonlight to create illusions and confuse their enemies. Luna's magic added a new dimension to their abilities, allowing them to outwit even the cleverest foes. Grom the Dwarf, a sturdy and reliable companion. Grom was a master craftsman who could fashion weapons and armor of unparalleled quality. His strength and resilience in battle made him a formidable ally. Kara the Mermaid, a graceful and compassionate mermaid, who could control water and communicate with sea creatures. Kara's connection to the oceans proved useful in navigating underwater realms and solving aquatic mysteries. After many adventures and challenges in the Enchanted Realm, Dan, Sam, Steve, and their allies decided it was time to return home. They had learned much, grown stronger, and forged unbreakable bonds, but they missed their families and the familiar comforts of home. With heavy hearts, they bid farewell to their friends in the Enchanted Realm and began their journey back. Along the way, they reminisced about their adventures, laughing at the funny moments and reflecting on the lessons they had learned. As they approached their own realm, they were greeted by familiar sights and sounds. The bustling city, the familiar streets, and the welcoming warmth of their fire station filled them with a sense of nostalgia. When they finally arrived at the fire station, they were greeted with cheers and applause. Their colleagues and friends had missed them dearly and welcomed them back with open arms. Dan, Sam, and Steve were grateful for their time in the Enchanted Realm, but they knew that their true home was here, among their friends and loved ones. They vowed to never forget their adventures and the friends they had made, but they were happy to be home at last. And so, the adventures of Dan, Sam, and Steve, the fearless fire rescuers turned heroes of the Enchanted Realm, came to an end. But their memories would live on, a testament to their courage, friendship, and unwavering spirit. As Dan, Sam, Steve, and their allies settled back into their routines at the fire station, they received a message from the elemental beings of the Enchanted Realm. The elemental beings were in need of their help once again, as a new threat had emerged that endangered the balance of the realm's elements. Without hesitation, Dan, Sam, Steve, and their allies set out to aid the elemental beings. This time, they faced a powerful entity known as the Elemental Overlord, who sought to control the elements and bend them to his will. The Elemental Overlord proved to be a formidable foe, using his mastery over earth, water, fire, and air to create chaos and destruction. But Dan, Sam, Steve, and their allies were not alone in this fight. They were joined by new allies who possessed unique abilities related to the elements. Among their new allies were Terra the Earthshaker, a giant of a man who could control the Earth itself, causing earthquakes and landslides to thwart their enemies. Aqua the Aquamancer, a skilled waterbender who could manipulate water in all its forms, from gentle streams to raging torrents. Pyrrha the Pyromancer, a fiery redhead with a fiery temper to match. Pyrrha could conjure flames of immense heat and intensity. Arrow the Aeromancer, a nimble and quick-witted individual who could control the air around them, creating gusts of wind and manipulating the weather. Together, Dan, Sam, Steve, and their new allies faced the elemental overlord in a climactic battle that shook the very foundations of the enchanted realm. With their combined strength and determination, they were able to defeat the elemental overlord and restore balance to the realm's elements. As they celebrated their victory, Dan, Sam, Steve, and their allies knew that their bond had grown even stronger. They had proven themselves to be true heroes, capable of overcoming any challenge that came their way. And so, the adventures of Dan, Sam, Steve, and their ever-growing alliance of friends continued, their resolve unbreakable and their spirits undaunted by whatever lay ahead.